Alright, so what we're working on today is a friend of mine had a leaf spring fail on this little trailer that she sells snow cones out of, and it's a very light duty trailer, but I think the suspension is a little too light duty, and I assume that frame is probably fairly paper thin as well. So what we're gonna end up doing is either a little subframe or at least another frame rail that we can tack onto this one, or I'm debating a piece of angle iron, but we have to see which one I go with based off the material that I have mostly. But I went and picked up new, substantially heavier duty leaf springs from Tractor Supply, and new mounts, new brackets, heavy duty ones. So at least this part will never be a concern again. But let's get this thing up in the air and get this old stuff cut off and get to it. Alright, so this will be like the driver's side. This will set on the inside of the frame rail. This will set under it. And I'll be able to weld onto this fairly well. This side is not, because the floor will pretty much meet this. So what we're going to do on this inside here is drill some holes, some smaller holes, and do some plug welds. All right, so now we're just under here cutting all this old crap off of here. It's probably a bump stop maybe at some point. And then there's our broken leaf still hanging, so just gonna knock these welds down and clean up this bottom rail and then put our new rails in. And we're gonna have to notch these so that our angle iron can slide up into here. And then we'll just weld this to the angle iron. As you can see, it wasn't even welded on the sides here, so it's not like I'm taking anything away. In fact, I'll be adding. So let's keep going. So metal fatigue would help me out, but doesn't seem like it wants to. Alright, let's get this cleaned up and move on to the other side. Alright, so the way I decided to do this was pretty much assemble all of this, assemble everything that I built today, which was this angle iron up here and this whole assembly, the springs to the axle. I even put tires on. I rolled it under here and then lowered the trailer down with the floor jack onto it, and it pretty much slipped right in. Then we just measured to square up our axle with the trailer tongue to make sure it pulls straight and doesn't have any abnormal wear on the tires, and welded it in place. So we've got the edge here all welded up, and then we've got our plug welds in here, there, 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 and there. And then we also welded to this in here, like I said we were going to do, in at least 3 spots. So it's all tied in here pretty good. I haven't finished welding this one yet. I have to pull this tire off. Tire got caught on here when the spring broke, so probably ought to get replaced, or at least paid attention to. Maybe my recommendation is probably going to be to these things are pretty cheap, so just order one and then use this as a spare. But pull this off, finish welding this through. These 1 to 2 inch welds are probably more than good enough, but you know. While we're waiting, we'll air up the tires. Waiting on those welds to cool so we can throw some paint on them. These want 80 psi, cold at max. So, and they're 1,000 pound, 1,050 pound rating. So, I don't know what this trailer weighs, but we're gonna take them to 70. Yeah, pretty much there. All that good. Take them to 70 because they're probably pretty close, and it's better to. This thing's gonna see the highway. If they're overinflated, then you'll get wearing in the middle here. If they're underinflated, you'll get wearing on the outside edge, and then you'll get a lot of flex in the sidewall, and then you'll get a blowout because this rubber flexing will cause a lot of heat in here, and that's when you get your sidewall blown. So I'll just pay attention. Like I said, it's a friend of ours, so the next time I see this trailer, I'll just take a look at the tires. I think I'm gonna throw a little rubberized undercoating up in here too. Probably should have done it before I put the tire back on, but I think we can manage. Good stuff. 3M. Love this stuff. All right, let's move to the other side. Get it welded up, get it painted and put back together. Tire inflated, and then the other thing I want to do is throw some grease in these. Looks pretty good, but we're gonna throw some more in there since I have it here. And I need to justify my DeWalt battery powered grease gun. All right, so we're gonna start with this 5-ish inches across, just on this flat face here. So we're gonna take a 5-inch hole saw, cut a circle out. We'll mark these holes for the studs, and then start working the rest of it. The old shackle hangers were longer, but those leaf springs were trash. Even when they were new, they're not great. These are 1,800 pound each, so they're kind of overkill, but it's what I could get locally today. So these probably flexed out a lot more. I don't think that the trailer will need those long shackles. These are the ones that came off of it right here. You can see how much longer they are. So the way this works is pretty much for every unit of measure, so for every inch longer these are, you gain a half of an inch, roughly half of an inch of lift, because you're only pushing this side down and your pivot point is down there, so you're attaining half of the distance in the middle off of your pivot point. I'm sure there's some math word for all of this, but so that's the deal. So these, grab a tape measure. This one eye to eye is about 2.5, and these eye to eye are 4.5. So they're 2 inches longer, so it's 1 inch more lift this trailer had before. But things that could affect that, let's see, would be the thickness of the spring pack, for example. That's still warm, so that's 1 inch. I think this one's about the same, if not a little bit more. Yeah, it's about 1.25 inches. So, but like I said, these are not as nice, and you can see just, I mean, I don't weigh much, but about 170. Well, that's how you die. 170 pounds. You can see what 170 pounds is doing to these. So they probably went flat pretty often. But anyway, long story short, we're going to repurpose these spring shackles, and they'll be part of the clamp system for this spare tire carrier. Instead of welding it on, I'm going to make it movable and removable. So these will be have bolts that come through and pretty much clamp the tire carrier on here, or yeah, you wouldn't want it there, but just gives you options. So, and then if we decide later that we need these longer shackles on the springs, then I'll make some more up. These are really easy to make. It's obviously a piece of flat bar. This one's plasma cut CNC. You can see right there's your tall tale sign. But the other thing you gotta pay attention with this trailer is the serving height. So the more lift we add, you know, another inch down here is another inch up here. So it could be difficult for people to order, but anyway, let's torture our wrists with this hole saw. See if we can break an arbor bit. Oh man, I have a plasma cutter. And that arbor bit's too long. It's gonna go through that wood. I might just get the plasma cutter. You know what? Yeah, we're just gonna plasma. Alright, let's measure these out and get some holes marked. Alright, we got our round plate cut, 1/2 inch bolts pushed through, welded on the back side. This is going to be our upright. These will be against the frame, clamping it from the back side, and ready to start welding. This is the 90 degree, then that'll mount on there, and that's where the tire will hang out. So let's get to welding. knock these corners off here because they lift that generator on and off the front of that trailer, so I'd hate to catch skin or a nice pair of pants on that. What a mess. Ah, we need a battery. Which truck's the air compressor? And I only have one DeWalt battery to feed this and the air compressor. There it is. I guess that was the end of my tube there. Alright, well, once the paint dries on this tire carrier, that's it, folks. Tools. Yeah, so here's pretty much the stuff we cut off of there. Some pretty thin wall. Bushing there. But, yeah. We're a lot better set up now. We're a lot better set up now. Look at that, nice and heavy duty. Heavy duty springs. Solid little frame rail there, so that shouldn't be that should be holding together for quite a while. All right, I'm not proud of what I'm about to do, but these bolts are too long. Even after you go through here, the width of this frame, which is probably the same thing, looks like it. I didn't build this, but once you go through all that, there's a ½ inch of too little thread, too much shank. So cheap, well, cheap-ish and easy spacers, a big nut that fits over it. So I'm gonna do that. I'm not proud of it, but I gotta have this done. We're losing daylight. I will go throw a washer on there behind it, but that's the answer for today. It's good for carpal tunnel. Better than not having one. So there we go. Let's clean this stuff up and go drop this trailer off. Alright, well that pretty much wraps up this trailer repair. The axles in there nice and square, and it should be a bunch of trouble-free miles in its future. So thanks for watching,
hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you next time.